Holy shit, this game is... Oh, hold on.
The Bowlingotter Show.
Holy shit, this game is fun. Now, SSX has been bringing us wonderfully ridiculous snowboarding trickery since it originally hit the market in year 2000 as a launch title for the PlayStation 2. It didn't do so great in stores, but apparently pretty much everyone who played it really liked it, as evidenced by the Metacritic score of 93. The bottom line was that it was fun. Now, with 4 more titles over the next 8 years bearing the SSX name, the series has laid completely dormant since 2008 until now. And just like with the newest Mortal Kombat game, this new one is called SSX. There's no tagline. It shares the name of the original that started the whole thing. That wasn't always the case though, because if you remember back at the reveal at the Spike Video Game Awards of 2010, this was introduced as being called SSX Deadly Descents. And after playing through the game for a while, that title still completely fits, because the Deadly Descents themselves are really the newest and most original mechanic to this iteration of SSX. But the Deadly Descents themselves really end up just being entertaining side notes and changes of pace, because the meat of this game, what really makes it great, are the races and the trick events. And there's plenty of them, and you're going to be doing insanely fast races, crazy impossible jumps, and ridiculous tricks. And that's what makes this game fun. Well, the first time your snowboarder hits the slopes, you're going to be hit in the face with how good this game looks. The draw distance seems to go on forever. The mountain backdrops are expansive. Whether it's blindingly sunny, dark and icy, or there's a snowstorm that's completely obstructing your view, everything has convincing depth and impressive detail. And there's not a frame rate hiccup in sight. But your appreciation for all that's going to go by pretty quick, because before you know it, you're going to be flying down a hill, completely distracted by the action in the game. And when you're not delicately trying to manage every twist and turn of the game, you're going to be flying through the air doing crazy, ridiculous shit you're not supposed to be able to do in real life. You'll be doing crazy combinations of grabs and spins from way high up in the air, and then you have to take care to make sure that you let go right before you hit the ground soon enough so that you can cash in on all those tricks you just did. And what do you get for cashing in? Well, you get boosts, so you can go faster, and you can go higher. You can get to the tricky mode so that you get unlimited boost and you start doing even more ridiculous tricks. Yeah, holy shit, this game is fun. Now when you get started in the game's single-player campaign called the World Tour mode, there is a story, kind of. There's a handful of characters returning from previous SSX games, and there's several new ones as well. One of the returning guys, Griff Simmons, is actually painted to be the bad guy in this iteration, if you need a bad guy in a game like this. It's how the game gives you an excuse to be going from mountain to mountain in different locales, taking on these different slopes and these deadly descents. The story is apparently that Griff Simmons decided that he wants to be the best in the world, so he decides to go start doing this stuff. You play the part of a team of snowboarders called SSX who decide that they want to be first, so they have to race Griff Simmons. Everyone kind of just seems like a one-upping on this situation, so I don't know who's really a good guy or bad guy in this. But really, who cares? SSX was never about the characters or the story. So the little comic book sequences that pop up for each individual character are just bonuses. You can watch them or not. They don't add anything, but they don't take anything either. If you don't like them, skip them if you think they're dumb. They're inconsequential. So what's with these deadly descents? Well, your race against Griff will take you around the world to places like the Alps, to the Himalayas, even Antarctica. And as you reach each region, you're introduced to a new character and then several events of the race or trick variety. And they are exactly as they sound. In a race event, the first to the bottom wins, and in a trick event, the person who finishes with the most points wins. The nice thing about these events is that whether it's race or trick, it still revolves around doing a lot of tricks. Because in the trick events, obviously you want to do the most tricks to get the most points. In a race event, you do tricks to get your boost charged up, and that makes you go faster. So no matter what kind of event you're doing, you're still going to be trying to pull off as many tricks as possible in as spectacular a fashion as you can. Best of all, the controls are tight and accurate, so if you mess up and you fall, you have no one but yourself to blame. You earn every point in this game. In each region, after doing a few of these events, you're greeted by the Deadly Descent event. And the difference here is that the only object in this is to survive. There's nobody else racing, you gotta get to the bottom alive, and that's that. Each one has a different thematic hazard like ice or rocks or gravity, and each character that's paired with the region has a specific piece of equipment that's there to help you deal with this specific hazard. For instance, you'll get ice axes to help you with the icy areas, armor to work with the rocky areas, and you'll have a wingsuit to get over large chasms in the gravity hazard areas.
Alright, read out the look at the solar police.
Now, as I covered before, while the game was originally going to be released with the name Deadly Descents entrenched right in the title, I'm kind of glad they did without that, because while they are the newest thing to the game and the newest theme and feature to this particular iteration, they also are the most different from the rest of the game, and really in some ways do away with the best parts of the game. They can be pretty tough, especially later in the game, so you're not going to be thinking that much about speed and tricks while you're trying to get down one of these. There is a different kind of satisfaction you get from navigating a really small area, a really tight pass, or trying to stay in the sunlight to avoid freezing to death, and it's an interesting twist to be in a battle against the mountain instead of other racers. But these levels ultimately stack up to changes of pace amongst the real meat of the game, which are the race and the trick events. Interestingly, SSX managed to balance between both extremely difficult and extremely forgiving during this World Tour mode. What I mean by that is in the race events, the AI is pretty damn fast. In the tricky events, the AI is pretty damn tricky. You'll be consistently challenged to improve at every facet of the game as the World Tour goes on. Even though you only have to place 3rd out of 4 in order to move on, just not come in dead last, it can be really hard not to come in dead last a lot in this game. But if you're just trying to get from start to finish and you just want to see what this game has to offer, if you do fail a certain event a few consecutive times, the game will give you an option to skip it altogether. You get to keep all your rewards, you get to keep your experience, and move right on to the next track. Now, hardcore gamers probably aren't going to want to do that. But if you're getting frustrated, you can just move on. It's really a sign that the developer just wants you to have fun. The same actually goes for the Deadly Descent events too, so that makes this game incredibly accessible for all skill levels. This iteration of SSX does away with invisible walls, so you could very easily find yourself careening off the side of the mountain or falling down a pit in the middle of the track. That could really make things frustrating, but the game does have a rewind mechanic that can help with these situations. I know a rewind mechanic sounds chintzy, but this is no win button, believe me. You have a limited amount of rewinds per run, and there are penalties for using it. While you're rewinding, your points will drain, which will cripple you during a trick event. And during a race, other racers do not rewind with you. They keep going. So that's a huge disadvantage for race events. Still, you're going to want to use this mechanic. It comes in very handy, especially when you're faced with a new track that's really difficult and you're just trying to find your best way to get to the bottom. You can use a rewind mechanic to make sure you get there. Then try again and try to get your best score and best time after the fact. Now, accomplishing feats during the World Tour mode will earn you credits, and they can be spent at the in-game store, which you can buy pieces of equipment that vary in attributes between speed, boost, and tricks. You can also pick up different outfits, some of which have perks that make a tangible difference on your race. Even each character's specific equipment can be upgraded for use to help you out during those Deadly Descent races. But the credit gathering where it really comes in handy is after you're finished with the World Tour mode, when you decide to go into some of the multiplayer modes. Playing all the way through the World Tour mode will start you with a great stack of credits to give you a good boost for when you go on to the global events. These events last multiple days, and they consist of tallying up the scores of thousands of racers around the world, all on one particular track, one particular event. And when it's all completed, they're divvied up into brackets. And at the event's completion, you're awarded credits based on what bracket you fell into. If you want more focused competition, there's the Explore mode, where you can go onto individual tracks yourself and also race against your friends' ghosts. It feels very similar to Need for Speed Hot Pursuit's autolog mechanic, which was very good. And the way that SSX makes sure you keep coming back to this is it will tell you right away if a friend beat your score or if you got knocked out of a bracket on a global event. It's really tough to resist the urge to go back in to give it another shot. The only bummer here is there's really no way to line up a few friends and just do a one-off race against each other. Yeah, you race against your friend's ghost, but that's not the same. While you're on a run in the global events, there's a nice feature where you will see other people racing right alongside you on the same event. But it's only aesthetic because you don't all start at the same time, so it doesn't matter who gets to the bottom first, and you can't bump into each other. Just the simple ability to get you and a few friends on the same track just to race down to see who wins would have been a great feature to have, even if it didn't have any impact at all on the global events or the Explorer areas. Another way that SSX incorporates online functionality is with the geotag system. You can use your credits to purchase a geotag before a race and then drop it somewhere on the race as you're going down. They'll pop up for other players even during the single-player World Tour campaign, but the idea is to make it really tough to find. Because once a player picks up your geotag, it disappears from everyone's races, and you and that player are awarded credits based on how long it existed in the game world. The longer it's out there, the more credits both of you earn when it's collected. So make that thing a pain in the ass to find and you will both benefit from it. Those credits are important because after World Tour mode, the rest of the game is entirely based on credits. A lot of the Explore mode tracks and global events even cost credits to enter. But of course, new copies of SSX come with the godforsaken online passcode, and you'll need it in this situation. The difference here is that players without the online passcode, who buy the game used, will still be able to compete in these global events, online with everybody else. But if you have no passcode, you won't get any of the credits. That cuts you out of getting the ultimate payoff for getting an awesome score or a great time. Now the other crappy thing about credits is that you can buy them with real money. It's not necessarily a pay-to-win function, but it kind of feels like it sometimes. While the best people are certainly those with tremendous skill, there's just no way to discern between who really cut their teeth earning credits to go get that awesome board or upgrade mod and who just opened their wallet. It cheapens things a bit. It's bad enough that EA had to use this online passcode, but they didn't have to go and hand out advantages to people who are willing to pay more money. When the competition is on such a grand scale, give us a level playing field. Now, one last feature I want to point out is one that I absolutely love. Now, SSX's soundtrack runs the gamut from popular names like Foster the People, to Handsome Furs, to DJ Shadow, to Skrillex. So whatever kind of music you're into, you'll hear a song here and there that you like, but chances are also pretty slim that you're going to like all of them. Now, SSX is one of these games that gives you the option to use your own music in all facets of the game. And it's even more customizable because you can specify what music will go with the race events, the trick events, the survive events, and the menu music too. I'll tell you what, I had Rage Against the Machine going during my menu music and I wanted to hang out in the store just a little bit longer. And when I had Meshuggah on a race event, that just made me want to go even faster. And I dialed some Minus the Bear into the trick events, and I wanted to do the track over and over again just to see what song it would pick next. Now this feature is one that comes up in many games, but blaring music behind the action in SSX makes it work exceptionally in this case. Plus, SSX will actually manipulate your own music in the same way that it does the included soundtrack. Meaning if you go off on an exceptionally high jump, it'll thin out as you're reaching the top of it. And if you're going on a lengthy grind, it'll skip almost like a turntable. If you only take advantage of the ability to customize your own soundtrack in one game, this is the game to do it in. Well, this brings us to the bottom line. I'm going to give SSX the best score I have so far this year, 4.5 out of 5. This game is awesome. You'll get immediate satisfaction from being able to button mash your way in the early goings, and then you're rewarded when you start to really refine your technique as it goes along. You'll watch your race times and your trick scores soar while you're completing the 6 to 8 hour World Tour campaign. Competing with thousands of people in the global events is extremely addictive. And just try not to return to a race once you find out that your friend just completely demolished your score. All the while, the visuals are stellar, and the soundtrack is varied and current and gives you the often underrated option to customize your own music. The game is fun at 1 hour, it's fun at 10 hours, and it's fun beyond, and you'll always have another excuse to go back. And if it only had an option to put you against a few friends in a more old school multiplayer race, this game would be damn near perfect. But that aside, pretty much anyone's going to be able to pump hours into this game and be happy they did. SSX deserves a spot on your shelf. Now, of course, if you agree or disagree with anything in this review, I want to hear your comments, so submit them below. And as always, thanks for watching the Bowlingotter Show, and thanks for coming to defaultprime.com. See you next time.